Long before the pyramids touched the sky, before Egypt even had a name, something incredible was happening on this planet. Across deserts and mountains, we find stones carved with precision tools no ancient culture was supposed to have. Machines that shouldn't exist. Engineering that defies our textbooks. So, who built them? And how did their knowledge vanish so completely that even Egypt, one of the greatest civilizations in history, seemed to start from scratch? This is not myth. It's evidence of a world we've forgotten. If you love uncovering secrets buried in time, hit like and subscribe. It helps us bring more of these hidden stories to light, and together, we can question what we really know about human history. Long before Egypt's first kings etched their names in stone, the Nile Valley was already whispering with mystery. Beneath layers of sand and time, archaeologists keep finding clues, fragments of an era that shouldn't exist. Smooth-cut granite, perfect symmetry, precision that seems out of place for a people who hadn't yet learned how to smelt iron. Imagine standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, knowing that under your feet lay structures even older, built when Egypt was still a scattered cluster of tribes. Radiocarbon dating, sediment layers, and astronomical alignments hint that something advanced was here long before dynasties rose. But who are these builders? Some researchers call them pre-dynastic Egyptians. Others suspect something deeper, an earlier civilization erased by flood or fire. Could this have been the source of Egypt's sudden leap into complex mathematics, astronomy, and stonework? It's a question mainstream archaeology avoids. Yet every discovery pushes it closer to the surface at sites like Nabta Playa. Deep in the Sahara, massive stone circles predate Stonehenge by thousands of years. They align with solstices and star patterns, proof of astronomical knowledge far beyond early herding societies. And then there's the mysterious site at Abu Rawash, where unfinished blocks show tool marks more precise than copper chisels could achieve. If Egypt didn't invent civilization, then what lost culture lit the torch first? Why does history begin already half-written? Perhaps time itself has buried the evidence under sand, silt, and silence. But as each buried ruin emerges, one truth becomes harder to ignore. Egypt may not have been the cradle of civilization, but the inheritor of something far older. When you walk through ancient Egyptian quarries, one thing stands out: the stone. Not just its scale, but the precision of its cuts. Perfectly straight lines, smooth boreholes, mirror-polished granite faces. These aren't random chips from copper chisels. They look like the work of machines, not men with hammers. Take the unfinished obelisk at Aswan, carved directly into the bedrock. It stretches over 1,000 tons. Yet its sides are smooth, its angles exact. Copper tools couldn't scratch granite like this. Even with modern equipment, shaping something so massive would be a challenge. So how did people more than 4,000 years ago do it? You can still see circular drill marks, spiral grooves carved into diorite. One of the hardest stones on Earth. Engineers who've studied them say the rate of penetration is closer to diamond-tipped rotary drills than hand tools. Could they have used some form of advanced cutting technique, now lost to time? Mainstream historians argue it's skill, patience, and abrasives. But does that explain uniform depth cuts, perfect symmetry, and high-speed tool traces? Or are we seeing remnants of a forgotten technology, one handed down, misunderstood, then lost entirely? These questions echo across other sites too. In Saqqara, granite boxes weigh over 70 tons each, carved from single blocks, polished to perfection. Their inner corners are sharp, their walls uniformly smooth, as if molded, not carved out. It challenges what we think we know about progress. Maybe civilization doesn't move in a straight line. Maybe once before, humans reached a level of precision, then watched it vanish. And the stones they left behind, silent, flawless. impossible are the only proof they were ever here. Every great civilization leaves behind a signature, something in its architecture that reveals how it thought, planned, and dreamed. In Egypt, that signature is precision, but the deeper we study their monuments, the clearer it becomes. Someone, somewhere, handed them the blueprint. Look closely at Giza. The 3 pyramids aren't just massive. They're aligned with incredible accuracy to the cardinal directions. Their layout mirrors the stars of Orion's belt. This level of astronomical knowledge doesn't emerge overnight. It suggests inheritance, a plan older than the culture that built it. Mathematical relationships appear everywhere. Ratios of pi, the golden number, and complex geometric sequences seem encoded in their design. Egyptologists call it coincidence, but is it? The precision rivals that of modern instruments. Even the platform beneath the pyramids is leveled within fractions of an inch across. 13 acres of solid rock. Then there's the Temple of Luxor, whose design maps the proportions of the human body. The pattern repeats across sites, symmetry, scale, and cosmic alignment working in harmony. It's as though ancient builders followed principles no longer taught, building from a master plan long lost to time. If this knowledge was rediscovered after a cataclysm, it would explain Egypt's sudden rise, not evolution, but restoration. A revival of memories passed through symbols, myths, and measurement. Could there once have been a universal science guiding builders across continents? We see echoes in Peru, India, and Turkey. The same geometry, the same obsession with the heavens. If so, then history isn't a ladder. It's a circle. And somewhere in that circle lies the lost blueprint that started it all. Deep beneath the sands of Abydos lies a structure that shouldn't exist. The Assyrian. It's not ornate like other Egyptian temples. It's raw, monolithic, and impossibly old. While nearby temples are covered in hieroglyphs, the Assyrian stands silent, as if built by people who didn't need to explain themselves. Massive granite blocks, some weighing up to 100 tons, form its foundation. They're perfectly cut, fitted without mortar, and still watertight after thousands of years. Archaeologists attribute it to Seti I, but the style doesn't match his era. It feels prehistoric, like something Egypt discovered, not built. Seti's own temple was constructed above it, almost as a tribute. Why build a temple on top of another? Because the Assyrian was already ancient when Seti found it. Even the floor level sits far below the surrounding landscape, a clear sign of age. Sediment layers confirm it. This wasn't made in the 13th century BCE. It could be thousands of years older. Some researchers suggest it was part of a pre-dynastic complex, a memory of a lost culture that inspired Egypt's myths of Osiris, the god of rebirth. Perhaps the name itself is no coincidence. Assyrian, the place of Osiris. Could this be a remnant of the world that birthed those stories? The Assyrian's smooth, machine-like cuts mirror the impossible precision seen at Giza and Aswan. Its design is more megalithic than Egyptian, echoing structures in South America and Turkey. It's as if the same builders left their mark across continents. If true, this site is not just a temple. It's a doorway, one that opens into an age before Egypt, when gods may have walked among men. Walk into any ancient quarry in Egypt, and you'll see something unsettling. Half-cut stones the size of houses. Some abandoned mid-carving, others still fused to the bedrock. It's as if the builders vanished mid-task. But the real mystery isn't their disappearance. It's how they moved what they finished. At Baalbek, in modern Lebanon, just north of Egypt's influence, lies the famous Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It weighs over 1,000 tons. Nearby blocks are even larger. To this day, no modern crane can lift them. Yet they sit stacked with millimeter precision, interlocking like a puzzle, Egypt itself holds dozens of similar enigmas. Granite blocks from the Valley Temple at Giza weigh between 50 and 100 tons each. Some are so tightly fitted that not even a razor blade can pass between them. No tool marks. No evidence of scaffolding. Just silent perfection. Conventional theories speak of ramps, ropes, and thousands of laborers. But even if that were true, where are the remnants? No ramps remain, no written records describe such methods. And why do we find similar feats across the world, in Peru's Sacsayhuaman, India's Ellora, or Turkey's Göbekli Tepe? It's almost as if ancient builders shared a lost science of weight, balance, and vibration. Could they have known something about stone that we've forgotten? Did they harness sound, magnetism, or subtle forces of the earth? The sheer precision suggests more than brute strength. It hints at understanding, a mastery of physics beyond trial and error. Each block placed with intent, each line carved with purpose. These stones weren't impossible for their builders. Only for us who forgot how it was done. Only for us who forgot how it was done. The deeper we dig into Egypt's mysteries, the more familiar they feel because we've seen them before. Half a world away, in the highlands of Peru, walls built by the Inca show the same impossible craftsmanship. Giant blocks, irregular in shape, but fitted so precisely that no mortar was needed. Each stone clicks into place like pieces of a forgotten code. How could two cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, build in the same way? Some argue coincidence. Others suspect memory, a shared legacy carried across generations from a single, lost source dot in Turkey. The Göbekli Tepe rises from the soil, 12,000 years old and already showing monumental design. Pillars weigh up to 20 tons, carved with animals and symbols before Egypt even existed. In India, temples like Kailasa at Ellora are hewn straight from solid rock, excavated downward with a precision that would challenge modern engineers. Everywhere, the same patterns emerge: megaliths, alignments with stars, sacred geometry, and a mastery of stone that shouldn't belong to primitive societies. Did each culture rediscover these techniques, or were they following blueprints from a forgotten age? Even myths whisper of connection. Ancient stories speak of gods descending from the sky, teaching humans how to build, measure, and remember. Could these tales be fragments of history, distorted through time? If these echoes across continents are coincidence, they are astonishingly consistent. The same precision, the same orientation, the same reverence for the cosmos. It's as if humanity once spoke a shared architectural language, one that didn't survive the flood of time. Perhaps what we call different civilizations are only chapters of one longer story, a story we're still piecing together. Stone by stone, beneath Egypt's monuments, traces of another science still linger, a science not of gods, but of resonance, vibration, and sound. What if the ancients didn't just move stone, but tuned it? What if their monuments were not tombs, but machines designed to channel energy from the earth itself? Many temples and pyramids share an odd feature: acoustic perfection. Clap your hands inside the Great Pyramid's king's chamber, and the echo doesn't fade. It hums, amplifies, and stabilizes. Engineers who've tested it say the chamber resonates at frequencies tied to the Earth's vibration. Coincidence or intention? Then there's the mysterious core drilling evidence found in granite. The spiral grooves aren't random. They're uniform, as if the stone was bored using rotary energy. Some researchers suggest ultrasonic or sonic tools, machines, that harness vibration to cut through hard stone without force. Could sound have been their secret weapon? Ancient texts hint at this knowledge. In India's Vedic hymns, entire cities are described as humming with power. In Egypt, inscriptions reference the House of Light. Even Plato spoke of civilizations that drew energy from the heavens. Were these metaphors or memories of real technology? Imagine energy not wired but resonant, drawn from the planet, directed through architecture, activated by voice, chant, or frequency. It sounds like myth, yet the evidence hums quietly through stone corridors, waiting to be heard. Perhaps the ancients didn't just build monuments to honor the gods. Perhaps they built them to remember, to keep alive a system we can no longer understand, and if we could decode it, would we rediscover what they lost? Every mystery leaves a scar, and Earth bears plenty. Beneath layers of soil and myth lies evidence of a disaster so massive it may have reset civilization itself. Around 12,000 years ago, something happened, something that wiped the slate clean. Scientists call it the Younger Dryas event. A sudden global freeze triggered by a comet impact or a massive meltwater pulse. Overnight, climates shifted. Oceans rose. Entire coastlines vanished. If a global culture once thrived, this was its end. The sea swallowed their cities. Fire scorched their monuments. And those who survived became nomads, storytellers, memory keepers. Ancient records seem to recall it. Nearly every culture speaks of a flood, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's Ark, the sinking of Atlantis. Different names, same story. The world drowned and knowledge was lost. But myths are history told through emotion. What if they're echoing a real event? Underwater ruins near Jubin's Yonaguni, off India's Gulf of Cambay, and around the Mediterranean suggest coastal civilizations older than our textbooks allow. Their precision, layout, and scale rival those on land. Were these outposts of the same forgotten world, one destroyed by a sudden cataclysm? If that world existed, its survivors would have scattered, carrying fragments of what they knew: geometry, astronomy, stonecraft, seeds of memory that took root in Egypt, Sumer. And beyond that, maybe that's why civilization seems to appear fully formed. Because it was reborn, not born. The first farmers, the first masons, the first priests, all descendants of a people who lived through the storm. History calls them myths. The stones say otherwise. Every culture tells stories about gods who came from the sky, taught humans how to build, measure, and farm, then vanished. To modern ears, these sound like allegories. But what if they're memories, distorted fragments of something real? Egypt's Thoth, Sumer's Enki, Mesoamerica's Quetzalcoatl, and India's Vishvakarman all share striking traits. They arrive after chaos, bring knowledge, and help rebuild the world. Across continents, the pattern repeats. How did isolated cultures invent the same story? Maybe they didn't. Maybe they remembered. These figures might not have been gods in the divine sense, but survivors, engineers, astronomers, and teachers from a lost age. To those rebuilding in the ashes of a cataclysm, such beings would have seemed superhuman. And over generations, memory became myth. Even architecture reflects these tales. Temples mimic mountains, pyramids point skyward, echoing a longing for connection, perhaps to those who came before. Legends describe islands that sank, cities of light, and serpents of knowledge. These phrases, poetic as they sound, could be records of real events viewed through ancient eyes. When people lose technology, they keep its memory in story form. Myths become storage, a way to preserve wisdom when the tools are gone. Modern science often dismisses myth as fantasy. Yet many myths contain measurable truths, ancient floods, alignments, and celestial events later confirmed by data. Could they be maps, showing us where to look for the past we've misplaced? Maybe history isn't about discovering new facts, but decoding the stories we already have. In them, the voices of our ancestors still speak, whispering reminders of a time when humanity reached higher, then fell. For every artifact unearthed, 1,000 more remain buried, not just in sand, but in silence. The deeper we look, the clearer it becomes. History is incomplete. Our timeline has cracks, and through them, light from an older world still shines. Why do advanced monuments appear at the very dawn of civilization? Why does knowledge seem to arrive suddenly, fully formed? If humanity truly started from scratch, how did our ancestors leap from simple huts to engineering marvels still admired today? Perhaps we're standing on the ruins of a civilization that mastered the world, only to vanish before we ever knew its name. Earth remembers. Every stone, every alignment, every myth all point to something older, wiser, and far more capable than we've been taught. Mainstream archaeology resists this idea because it demands rewriting everything, but evidence doesn't vanish just because we ignore it. The Assyrian still stands. The unfinished obelisk still lies waiting. The patterns in the stars still match the monuments below. If an advanced culture existed before Egypt, then we are its descendants, living in the shadow of a forgotten age. We inherited its myths, rebuilt its science, and reimagined its gods. Yet somewhere under dunes and oceans, its truth still sleeps. The question is no longer if they existed, but when we'll be ready to accept them. Because every discovery brings us closer to admitting something extraordinary. Civilization didn't begin in Egypt. It began long before, and we're only now starting to remember. History isn't finished. It's waking up. And when it fully rises, we may find that we've never been the first, only the latest. The deeper we search, the more the past refuses to stay buried. These stones, these myths, these alignments, they aren't random. They are messages carved across millennia, waiting for eyes willing to see. Maybe history isn't a straight road from ignorance to knowledge. Maybe it's a cycle of rise, fall, and rediscovery. If that's true, then every ruin we uncover is less a mystery and more a mirror. A reminder of what we once were. You have to wonder, how much of our own world would survive 12,000 years? What would future archaeologists make of us? The answers we seek may not lie in the future, but in the echoes of a civilization that vanished before Egypt, yet shaped everything that came after. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories that challenge what we think we know about the past. What we think we know about the past.